So I thought I'd make a video. You know, talking about my past and when it comes to the drugs that I used and the friends that I was around all the time. There was no one I probably did more drugs with than Michael Rosser. I DJ'd with him more times than Chris or anybody, but everybody did drugs with Michael. I'm talking about, like, first he was doing drugs with Chris Martinez all the time, and several other people. And when I was young, I didn't start doing drugs with him until I was like late 16 years old to 17, because he was hanging around. I was still in high school, and he was still hanging around some other kids that were his age, and it would be very, very. I couldn't think of anything that would really destroy, me as a person, of everything that I've been through. If something were to happen to Michael, and the thing is, the reality of it is, he's very likely to have some sort of. He's on the very list of things, including myself. Like, it did happen to me, that the drug use finally catches up. Because, everybody wanted to do drugs with him, and I know 100% fact. If something happened to him, they're all going to blame it on me, 100,000%, and they're going to put as much of it as they can on that situation. Ever since I was started to be homeless when I was 30 years old, and I noticed that I didn't notice until I was 35, I think. Yeah, 36, or I was 36, that my mother was a triplet. But I didn't know Julian was a twin until I was 35, or 36 as well. And, it makes me think, what other troubles are going to be down the road for me if something like that ever happened. He has a stroke, he dies, and nobody's going to want to hear my story about that. I can tell you this is, since I was 30 years old and always thinking regardless, so I was probably about in my early 30s when I noticed all this attention was going on, all this I go into grocery stores and I was like, what the fuck does everybody know? What the hell's going on? And I thought, if all this was ever supposed to be a surprise, and they were trying to make us DJs or whatever, where did Michael get these drugs? Who, of all the people, because everyone knew Michael could get drugs and had access to people that nobody else did. He could get GHB, he could get cocaine when he wanted, he'd have a little trouble getting acid, but he could find somebody that could find him to get acid eventually. He could find somebody to give him ecstasy, because a lot of people that use drugs always knew who he was, and he always had the connections. He always knew the connections of people that were doing drugs. And regardless of him resuscitating, I wasn't dead, but him, me falling nearly dead at his house would make things even much more worse, because everybody I know wants me dead. I don't believe any of these people want me alive. They just want to make me suffer, and they just want me until the fatal end. None of these people do. They don't give a damn about my life. Nobody that has any love in their heart and kindness in any way would ever be doing this to me, has ever felt good about themselves and in life and the beauty and beautiful things in life. Nobody would, because it was just so disgusting and constant. But it's just a constant that I'm always around people that don't want me alive. They want me dead. They want me cancer. They want me coughing up blood. They want the worst of everything to happen to me. And I still to this day, I could be living out on the streets. I think that it was just enough attention that was going on that they thought it was a better idea not to put me on the streets anymore and give me a disability. But Michael is 44. He's 4 years or 3 or 4 years older than me, so he's about to be 44, or he's already 44, going to be turning 45. And if there's the thing that was so fucked up about this situation is, I used to hang around, if there's cameras in a house and recording devices, which I think was like in Daniel Box's house, and who knows, maybe Richard's as well, or whoever. I think I could prove this, where Ricky Box and Daniel Box used to always joke around that he was doing so much drugs, and I had never said anything, and I'd kind of look at him like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? Like a friend of someone dying, and you used to say that Mike's just gonna die one day because he just keeps doing fucking drugs. He's just gonna, not wake up one day. And I didn't get introduced to ice, and I was smoking ice. I wasn't addicted to it, but I was smoking ice for about 6 or 8 months when I was in high school, and that's how I got introduced by drugs, just through Michael, hard drugs like that. But I thought I'd make a video because it makes me think how much of the blame, like, where did he get these drugs? That's what's so confusing to me. Like, if anybody, and he was on probation. Let me tell you this. Mike has been on probation since he was like 25 years old. And like hardcore probation. Like they had a breathalyzer in his car and all kinds of shit. And, he had to take drug tests. I used to actually take him to his drug classes and alcohol classes, believe it or not, when I was 18 and 19. And take him to a halfway house where he lived. I used to give him rides and lifts. And it was crazy, nobody else would. The extent of conversations and things would just go to trash, and I just know everybody would blame it. I know it, they would. Because they used to joke, there were people who really didn't give a shit too much about his life, but, because they kind of considered him Crazy Mike. But, getting older myself, of thinking I could get cancer of all the smoking that I'm doing, I think to myself, and it feels like somebody's shooting me. It feels like somebody's shooting me right here. And it's like, oh, you want to cry about it? They're shooting me with something. But it makes me think, because where did he get that? That's what's so boggling to me, is that all this stuff is going on. How could you have gotten so much drugs? Who's selling them to you? Like who's selling you drugs? How do you have access to drugs? And it doesn't make any sense to me. Like him doing a lot of drugs and having access to it. Who did it? Like who? To me, because he never really wanted to show me the people that did the drugs. He always wanted the connections to who's. That way people could just go to him. He never wanted to give up his connection and shit. He wasn't ever like that. Because the amount of drugs that he did, let me tell you, after my bone marrow transplant, and I blame this on myself even more. I went and I smoked meth, ice, I think twice with him after my bone marrow transplant. And it was once when I was 25 years old where I got super depressed. I got depressed beyond anything. This is when I was getting all these tickets, and I felt like I needed to find a way to be social with Mike, and that was one of the ways to build a bond with him again, or build a bond of DJ friends. And I had no idea he was addicted to heroin, which was one of the craziest things, is what I was told later. I mean, out of all the years I've ever known him, and no one ever told me he was addicted to heroin. I could never imagine Mike, because he hid that so well, and I never thought because he was always against it when I was younger, but he hid it. He hid that drug use a lot. But I thought I'd make a video on this, and I do hope everyone's healthy, and this whole dream of dwindling, of people getting together and choosing new careers and getting a DJ career and let them go on about their life, I don't think is ever going to happen. You know, I'm really old. The amount of constant training you have to do and sitting in a room all fucking day just DJing, and you can't be a DJ unless you know how to produce, and I don't know how to produce. I don't know how to produce music at all. I don't know any of the softwares, and that is a requirement. If you are a DJ, you have to know how to produce. But you could make a documentary just on all the videos and all the pictures that Mike had, but I could tell you this: no one knew him better than I did, other than like Chris Martinez would have been the only other person, because I know his dad and Jack and the family so well. But I think about that constant, not constant, but I think about, God forbid that something happens in the near future, that is more problems that's going to be placed on me, more depression. But it's so disappointing to think that all this was supposed to be a surprise and nothing ever happened. Nothing did. That nothing happened. It's like Scott Spring keeps calling me repeatedly over and over, so I don't know what's going on.